Play one. So let's talk about, this is the play we're going to talk about. What is it like when pressure comes up? What is the experience like? What is pressure? I think that's a super important thing to talk about because you hear that word all the time. But like, what is it? What exactly is pressure? How do we know it's here? And how come in some situations, like I might be in a situation with you, I feel a ton of pressure and you don't? Where two different people can have completely different experiences, but yet they're in the same group, same situation, but yet they're feeling totally different.
So true, yeah.
So for me, when I first start to recognize that I'm feeling pressure, I notice something, and I notice that I'm speeding up. I notice that I find myself wanting to get through it quick, kind of like wanting to rush. I notice that my mind immediately goes to a result that I'm trying to avoid a lot of times. So it might be that, I don't want to make a mistake, or I don't want this to happen. So I find myself trying to speed through sometimes. I feel it in my body. I feel my heart start to speed. I feel myself start to feel hot. So I physically start to feel hot.
Yeah, your whole body makes changes.
I'm feeling it in my body. And when I feel hot, my thinking shifts to a little more agitated. Yeah. I'm a little more short. I don't have as much patience. It's harder for me to be in the present. And then sometimes though, Laura, I feel pressure and it's the exact opposite. Sometimes I just feel like everything just feels scared.
Yeah, I'm like the opposite of you. I feel my arms get numb and tingly and everything goes slow for me. And it's like people almost like their voices can't be heard. My heart feels like it's missing. I might get a little bit sweaty, So for me, it doesn't speed up. It kind of gets really slow and I feel like I'm melting or disappearing. It's like I feel like I might faint. So true, like faint, what is it? Fight, flight, or faint?
Fight or flight.
Fight or flight or faint, right? Some people faint.
Right.
So I almost can faint from it when I get too much pressure. Yeah.
So there's no right thing that happens. Just being a human, we're going to experience, because as you say
natural.
That, so I've felt that too. I've felt the experience where I want to kind of numb away or disappear.
Yeah, perfect resistance example, right?
I think that's a really important word, resistance. Yeah. That when pressure hits, there's like a resistance of something. Yeah. I can feel it. I can feel myself wanting to leave my body sometimes.
Yeah. Or the room.
Yeah.
Or the gym.
Yeah. Right? It's like not be here.
Yeah.
Not be in this space.
I feel that too. It's like resistance to me. That's kind of the flight. I want to run away and get away from that. It could be that aggressive, or it could just be, I want to disappear. Right? I'm on the court and I don't want anyone to see me. No one pass me the ball. I'm going to kind of hide behind my defender. Right?
I remember being in class and having the experience of like knowing the teacher was going to call on someone, right? And you're sitting there going like, don't call on me, don't call on me. And you're resisting. You're resisting the whole moment. Right. And then you could feel it. Like you're sitting there in the class and you could feel all this welling, this energy, your heart racing. And you're like, please don't happen, please don't happen. And then the teacher would call on someone else. Oh, and you'd feel like this temporary kind of relief. Yeah. And I just remember like, what is this? What's happening? I think a really important word that you mentioned is resistance. Yeah. That pressure starts to occur when you have perspective on things, right? Sure. When you're looking at something a certain way and you're kind of like resisting it, and then it starts to compound.
Right. Yeah. So what is pressure? Something's going to happen that we don't want to happen, or we're afraid of being able to do what we know we need to do.
But I also think we need some pressure, right? So what is pressure? Is it energy? Is it like, because we feel it in our system, clearly it impacts our whole body. Right. So it almost seems like it's an energy source.
I would say so. I mean, and you can either ride with the energy or you can resist it. And if you resist it, that's where that uncomfortable feeling shows up, right?
The resistance of what is causes immense pressure.
Yes.
Right?
Right, because the game might be on the line and you might need to receive the pass and make a shot.
Right.
You can either just do that, or you could not want to do that. And that if you're afraid to do that, that's when your resistance comes up, right? So resistance is always like fear, right? Mm-hmm. Pressure could cause fear, which causes that response in our body. And our body really, they measure the body, right? Our digestion shuts down, our heart rate speeds up, and everything is ready for running away and getting away from that, creature. For back in, for ancient man, he had to run away from a tiger or whatever it was.
It's like when the pressure hits, our old hard wiring kicks in and makes us feel like we're in danger. Yeah. And the initial reaction, the primal reaction, is we're in danger, and I either need to fight the situation or flee or just like pass out.
Or I could die.
Or I can die.
And that's the thing that people feel like, I think, when it's a test. I could die. But our body reacts like we could die. We can't.
And even if that moment you're not in danger, you're still going through the whole experience.
The exact thing happens, right?
And then you have this incredible welling inside of you, pushing you to do something, to react, right? To do a primal reaction, to resist kind of what's happening.
Yeah.
And therein lies the pressure, right?
Right. And then we're resisting the energy. And so we can't even enjoy the moment if we let pressure take over us completely.
If I'm hearing everything we're talking about, and just like Damien talked about, it's here.
Yeah.
It's here.
Let it be joy, right?
Right, it's here. So I think that's one of the starts is if we kind of know, okay, it's going to be here.
Just let it, just see it,
All
experience it.
this is going to be here.
Yeah. Plus, I think most of us experience it in our body in some way. But why is our body experiencing that? Because our mind created a thought that started the process, right? Our mind hears something is stressful and our body's like, whoa, let's react. So really think about it. Our body reacts to what our mind says or what our emotional patterns, like fear creates something in the body, right? The thought creates something in our mind. I mean, I was talking about to one of the players, I said, hey, if you left the gym and went to the locker room because you were injured and someone came back there and said, hey, you got to shoot 3 free throws, the game's on the line. And you believe that, your body would still go through it. And then you could go out and see 4 minutes on the clock. It was a total joke. But you would have experienced everything, not because it was real, but because your thoughts created that experience, Our thoughts create the fear.
Exactly.
That's not really there, right? Like, you're not going to die if you got to take a last second shot. But our body thinks we will.
It's like when that feeling comes in, then you have a reaction, and then your thoughts go wild. And then you're following a thought that's just completely not based in reality. The feeling you felt was real. Like, you have a feeling that's real. What that feeling means gets people into big trouble, right? They'll follow a thought that says, I'm in danger, I'm going to die, I have to be perfect. None of that is true whatsoever.
So true. The part about being perfect is what we do that to ourselves, right? I must be perfect in order to be okay, in order to be liked, not made fun of, in order to not be embarrassed. So that perfection really is where I think you caught onto something.
And then perfection, what's going on there? You're resisting mistakes. You're resisting all that. And by avoiding all those, the pressure is so immense. It just builds and builds. And when you see someone who's trying to be perfect, you can feel pressure. Right? Because they're resisting mistakes.
Carol Dweck talks about the growth mindset, right? So when you're really talented and everyone your whole life has said, you're so talented, instead of you've worked really hard, the person who's really talented has more fear of failure than the person who's worked really hard. Because the person who's worked really hard has some sort of inner resilience that they just have. And that gets them through the trouble spots. But if it's all on talent, that's when you feel like, oh man, I may as well not try because then I won't be talented if I fail. Versus if I work hard and I fail, I'll just work harder next time. So the stakes are higher when you've been told your whole life you're really talented. Because if you've been told you're really talented, what are you going to try to avoid? Situations where you don't look like you're talented. Suddenly, everyone's talking about you on Twitter because, hey, you're not that good. And that's painful.
And then you're avoiding those situations. You don't want to go there. You're afraid to make mistakes. And you've talked yourself out of like being there. And then that pressure just compounds and compounds.
It's easier not to try to be great if you might not be great, right? If you don't understand how to perform under pressure.
Wow.
But that's why we're here.
That's why we're here. Okay, so this is going to happen. We're humans.
You're going to be under pressure.
There's humans. If you're living the human experience, you're going to feel it. No matter what. Right? And I've been doing this for decades now. One thing I've noticed is I still feel all the human feelings.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Same, yeah.
I've just gotten better at knowing what to do with them. Right?
Especially because people are looking at us. What do I do under pressure? So we have to actually be able to go way above. And I think the awareness is our gift, right? We have maybe some of the most awareness around pressure.
That's right.
And that's all it really is, right? The awareness helps us deal with it better.
So we'll call it pressure, and we've already shifted it to joy. So now we're like, how much joy do you want to let in your life?
So much.
Right? I want to let in a ton too. I want to let as much as I can in. And so it's intense. So one thing we figured out is it's intense, but you're not in danger.
Even talking about it, I can feel my Just talking about pressure.
Yeah.
I can feel moments. I can actually feel my heart rate. And that's because my thoughts created the pressure. There's no pressure. I'm sitting here with you. Yeah. But I can feel the pressure of like a last second shot or a player needing me. I don't know if you can feel it now, but just my thoughts. It's reminding me of how easy it is to go to that.
It affects everything that goes on in your body. So I think it's important that we accept this is going to happen. Yeah. This is the human experience.
It's going to happen.
Allow it. This is play one of this course. Hey, we're going to accept we're humans, so we have feelings, right? So we're going to welcome them in. Yeah. And then we're going to accept we do not have to react on all those feelings though, right? Exactly. This is where we have a chance to evolve. This is where we have a chance to grow. And this is where the mental training comes in is, we're going to feel all these feelings, but I have a choice how I respond. If we're living the human experience, we're going to feel feelings. Yeah. Right? And no matter what we're doing, it could be sports, school, business, life, relationships, we're going to feel it.
And we can welcome them in and enjoy the whole experience.
So let's welcome it all in. Let's welcome all of us being humans. Let's welcome in all this joy and energy. Yeah. And then let's get ready to get on to play 2. So now we want to do some reflection. We want you to think about a little more deeply about all the stuff we just talked about. So I'm going to start off. How do you experience pressure? I want you to think about this right now. How do you know pressure is coming to you? Do you experience it in your body? Does it feel like a certain temperature? Is it a certain part of your body? How do you experience pressure?
So when you experience pressure, do you notice that you love it or hate it? Have you relabeled it, or do you tend to resist it? So maybe give yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 if you resist it completely, and 10 if you really go into it and you're really embracing it. So we're letting 10 be a high number, like, am I embracing pressure? Am I okay with it? That's a 10 for you. And if you really are in huge resistance, that's a 1. And this is just information. You're not judging yourself. This is just a way to see where you are, because you'll remeasure in the future and you'll see that you've actually really made some progress.
When you start to feel pressure, what happens to your thinking? Do you start to feel rushed with your thinking? Does your thinking go really negative? Are you optimistic? I just want you to notice what happens to your thoughts when pressure hits you. I want you to think about perfection. When pressure comes around, do you try to be perfect? Do you avoid making mistakes? And what does it feel like if you avoid making mistakes? What is your experience like when you're trying to be perfect?
Think about 2 or 3 things that you could do to start to feel a little better when you're feeling like you're under pressure. What are some tools that you can start to come up with that'll help you be better under pressure? We'll talk about some later, but I want you to think right now, what might help you?
We've mentioned the word pressure a whole bunch. When you hear that word, what does it do to you? And would changing it to something like joy or something like opportunity, how would that affect you if you looked at it differently?
See if your hand will allow you to write down right now, pressure is joy. Can you relabel it in a really big and powerful way? Pressure is joy. How does that feel? Notice when you're writing that down, if your body is saying no, or if your body is allowing you to write that down.